Ravings from the grave and salutations, everyone. Dr. Redfield here, and I'm going to share with you my favorite top 10 Stephen King novels that'll rot your brains, or at least keep you up late at night wondering what that noise under your bed is.
You know what that noise is. You made me leave it there.
If you do not know who Stephen King is, just know this. He has been the one individual who has been terrifying nightmares for literally generations in novels, movies, and television. Be it vampires, monsters, or small-town horrors, he is willing to tell the tales that others won't or can't. He has the unique ability to spin a tale for you that will leave you both spellbound and terrified. He is the king of terror. Some have claimed that he is an author who has verbal diarrhea of the word processor. So before I'm accused of doing the same myself, let's dive into my favorite top 10 Stephen King novel.
You've only read 10?
Oh, there's way more than 10.
Number 10, Carrie.
This is technically Stephen King's first published novel, and it paved the way for all of his future success. Without this story, there would be no Stephen King. This first publication follows a telekinetic high school girl who ultimately gets her revenge on her bullies and her over-religious mother. Stranger Things would be nothing if it wasn't for this book.
Number 9, Dreamcatcher.
Now, I know I'm going to get some hate for this because there are a lot of people out there who do not like Dreamcatcher the movie, but I'm not here to talk about the movie, I'm here to talk about the novel. This novel has all the telltale elements that make a great Stephen King story. Plus, it has aliens. That's right, small town terrors? Check. Kids coming together to fight monsters? Check. Telepathy? Check. Ass weasels? I'm not sure that we were fully aware that we needed that one as a check for Stephen King stories, but I'm gonna go with it. Ass weasels? Check. So whether it's SSDD or I done it, it's all no bounce and no play.
What does that mean?
Now you've got to read the book. I'm trying to do no spoilers here.
Number 8, 11/22/63.
Conspiracy theories, time travel, and most importantly, love are all concepts and motifs that are explored here in this novel. It is a wild ride. It's like, what if JFK was never assassinated? What if you could change the past? Would your sacrifice be worth it? I highly recommend this story if you're looking for something that's a little different than the typical exploration of things that may scare you. Real quick question, how hard is the Lindy Hop to do?
Oh, you won't be able to learn that. I've seen you dance.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Alright.
Number 7, The Shining.
Joseph Tribbiani claims this is the most terrifying book that he's ever kept in his freezer, and I couldn't agree more. The fears in this novel are sometimes real and sometimes supernatural. I am not talking about the Stanley Kubrick film, I am talking about the novel. Alcoholism, isolation, and ghosts have never been more cunningly used to creep you out than right here. Rad rum, rad rum, rad rum!
Number 6, The Green Mile.
This novel right here was unique in the fact that it was actually released in 6 monthly mini novels. Something like this could never be done again. I remember when these came out, my grandmother would get the book, then she would give it to my mother, and then my mother would give it to me. It was a ritual for us for almost a year. This is a brutal story of miracles and of life and death. I have cried sadness and joy every time I've walked this mile. Man, that fucking mouse.
Number 5, Pet Sematary.
This right here is probably the most terrifying and heartbreaking tale that Stephen King has ever written. This is a dark experience, and some readers have had a hard time even finishing this one. What's more terrifying than ancient burial rites, regrets, and child death? Nothing, absolutely nothing. Sometimes dead is better.
Number 4, Salem's Lot.
This is the first Stephen King novel I read, and it scared me as much back then as it does today. Rural New England and vampires are the perfect combination to set the Halloween mood for the season. The story starts at a calm, small-town pace that then moves towards breakneck terror by the time you reach the end of the climax. Probably the best vampire story ever told.
What about Twilight?
No, Barlow would devour Twilight.
Number 3, The Stand.
I have always found this epic saga to be terrifying, but when 2020 happened, it just felt a little too real. We had infections, government fuck-ups, and all we needed was a global death rate and a final showdown between good and literal evil. It's a saga across the country with characters you feel like you've become best friends with by the time you've reached the end of this journey. Every once in a while, I just wonder to myself, M-O-O-N, that spells Tom.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Number 2, It.
Pennywise the Clown is probably the most iconic character in the Stephen King universe. It is horror like never done before. This is the tale of a small town terrorized and of children being eaten by a clown that can literally change itself into your worst nightmares. This is the most King classic, cocaine-fueled 80s romp of bizarre kitty murder and a sewer sex scene, intergalactic spider from beyond the macroverse that we'll ever get. Man, this one is weird and scary and sometimes gets a little out of hand, just like Georgie.
The honorable mentions.
And the honorable mentions are every other Stephen King novel that I'm not mentioning here right now. Every single one.
That's a bold statement. Number 1, The Dark Tower.
This is Stephen King's magnum opus, and it is by far my favorite tale from this word slinger. The Dark Tower. It is not one novel, but about 8 or 9 other short stories that come together to tell the tale of Roland Deschain, the gunslinger, and his quartet and their quest for the Dark Tower. This one epic story connects all of Stephen King's other works together into one universe, the Kingverse. The saga has one of the most iconic opening lines of literature, in my opinion.
The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed.
It gives me chills every time I read it, and it's not even my favorite book in the series. That would be part 3, The Wastelands, the tale of Roland, Eddie, Susanna, and Oi with Blaine and the monorail. I have read this entire series at least 7 times, and I cannot wait for the next time I take the journey with these characters again. After all, it's all 19. It's always been 19. 19 and the 90 and 9.
I think you've lost your mind, Doctor.
And there you have it, you creepy cadavers. Please keep in mind, this was just my personal top 10 favorite list of Stephen King novels. So if yours didn't make it on the list, let me know. I would love to discuss it with you guys. After all, I am your biggest fan.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for joining us, and be sure to subscribe so that you can tune in for more explorations of insanity. Remember, play and slay, play until dead, and hail the king, baby.